Hello students, in the last class we have studied some examples on partition of a closed interval as well as we have studied the definition of upper Darboux sum and lower Darboux sum. First of all, I will revise both these definitions, upper and lower Darboux sum, as these are very important definitions, and then we will proceed to the definition of Darboux condition of integrability and some important remarks and notes based on it. So let us begin with the definition of upper and lower Darboux sum. Upper Darboux sum. First of all, upper Darboux sum. Upper Darboux sum. See how the upper Darboux sum can be defined. Okay, let f be a real valued. Let f be a real valued bounded function. Real valued bounded function defined on closed interval a to b. Okay, then clearly f will be bounded on each subinterval of the closed interval a to b also. Okay, defined on the closed function defined on closed interval a to b. Let p be any partition. Let p be any partition of closed interval a to b. Okay, we know the definition of partition of closed interval a to b. I am not going to repeat it. Let p be a partition of closed interval a to b. Let capital Mi be the supremum. Supremum means LUB, list upper bound of function f in the subinterval delta xi. Delta xi is the ith subinterval. Okay, so let capital Mi be the supremum, that is LUB, of function f in the ith subinterval delta xi. Then the upper sum, the upper Darboux sum, are also called as a Darboux upper sum. Okay, then the upper Darboux sum of function f on partition P is denoted by U. This capital U is used for denoting the upper Darboux sum, and as it is on the partition P, therefore capital P. Okay, U, then capital P. Capital P is for the to indicate the partition P. So U, then capital P, and it is of the function f. So therefore f. F is small here, as it is we have denoted the function by the small f. Okay, then it is denoted by UPF and is given by means the formula which defines the upper Darboux sum is, and it is given by the formula UPF, upper sum or partition P of the function f, means UPF. It is equal to summation over I equal to 1 to n of capital Mi into delta xi. Capital Mi into delta xi. So this is the formula for computing the upper Darboux sum, or simply upper sum of function f over the partition P. And we know that if you put I equal to 1 to n in this formula, then we'll get which is equal to, this is equal to, if you put I equal to 1, then we'll get capital M1 into delta x1. Okay, means the supremum of the function f in the first subinterval into length of the first subinterval. Then plus, as it is summation, therefore it is plus. Put the next value of I, which is 2, you will get capital M2, means the supremum of the function f in the second subinterval into length of the second subinterval, means that is delta x2, and plus continued up to the last one. The last value of the I is n, so therefore it is equal to the capital Mn. Capital Mn means supremum of the function f in the nth subinterval into length of the nth subinterval, that is delta xn. So this is the formula for computing the upper Darboux sum. This is a very important formula. Okay, you have to remember this formula. This is very important formula, upper Darboux sum, this formula. This definition is also very important. Okay, then after defining the upper Darboux sum, we have defined the lower Darboux sum also. Okay, how we have defined the lower Darboux sum? The definition of lower Darboux sum is very much similar to that of the definition of the upper Darboux sum, with slightly changes. What are the changes? I am going to write those changes here. Okay, so how the lower Darboux sum can be defined? See here, lower Darboux sum. Now I am defining the lower Darboux sum, and for defining the lower Darboux sum, you have to write all this definition with the changes. I am only indicating the changes. I am not going to write down the each and everything in the definition. Okay, so the lower Darboux sum, also simply called as a lower sum. Okay, lower sum or the lower Darboux sum. See here how it can be defined. I am telling changes only. So let f be a function. Let f be a real valued function. Okay, let f be a real valued bounded function defined on. Let f be a real valued bounded function defined on closed interval a to b, and let p be any partition of closed interval a to b. Let small mi, now instead of capital Mi, we are going to use the small mi in the lower Darboux sum. Okay, so let small mi instead of capital Mi, now small mi. Let small mi, this one. Let small mi be the supremum, that is supremum we denote by the which notation? Supremum means the GLB. Supremum means GLB, greatest lower bound of function f in the ith subinterval delta xi. Then the lower Darboux sum of function f on partition P is denoted by, LPF. Here L is taken to indicate that it is a lower sum. So it is denoted by LPF, means we read this as lower sum over partition P of the function f, and is given by the formula. The formula I am going to write here. So it is given by the formula. Formula is similar to that of the earlier, only the change is that instead of capital Mi, we are going to use the small mi. Okay, so it is given by the formula, and the formula is this one I am writing here. So it is given by the formula LPF is equal to the summation over I equal to 1 to n small mi into delta xi. Small mi means infimum. Okay, so infimum. So it is given by LPF, that is equal to summation over I equal to 1 to n small mi into delta xi. Small mi into delta xi means, again, small mi into delta xi. We can, in this formula we can put the values of I from 1 to n to get the corresponding formula. Okay, So for the lower Darboux sum, we have to use the infimum. Let small mi be the infimum. 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 Infimum, roughly speaking, infimum means the smallest value and supremum means the largest value. Roughly speaking, actual definitions of infimum and supremum we have studied in the third semester real analysis paper, and also that those were studied in the first year also in the introductory part. Okay, so the formula for the lower Darboux sum is LPF is equal to summation or I equal to 1 to n small mi into delta xi. If you put I equal to 1 to n, then we'll get this is nothing but this is equal to, this is small m1 into delta x1. Small m1 means infimum of the function f in the first subinterval into length of the first subinterval, plus small m2 into delta x2 means infimum of the function f in the second subinterval into length of the second subinterval, and continued up to the last one, that is the last value of I is n. So it will be, the last term will be the small mn into delta xn, which is nothing but infimum of the function f in the nth subinterval into length of the nth subinterval. So likewise we have the definitions of the upper Darboux sum and lower Darboux sum. These are the, as told earlier, these are the very important definitions, because depending on this later on we are going to study the Darboux condition of integrability, and before that we are going to define the lower integral and upper integral. Okay, so we have defined the lower Darboux sum and upper Darboux sum. Now after defining the lower and upper Darboux sums, the next one is we will go for one important derivation. Okay, so one important derivation which is for the relationship between the lower and upper Darboux sums, that we are going to consider now. Okay, so next one is an important relation that we'll see now. An important relationship. Okay, an important relationship. Important relationship that we are going to consider. Just a minute. Okay. An important relation. Let us see that important relationship. So let f be a function which is defined on the interval a to b. Okay, let f be a function defined on the closed interval a to b. Let small m be the infimum of f in complete closed interval a to b. Let small m be the infimum of f in the closed interval a to b. Small mi be the infimum of f in ith subinterval, that is delta xi. Okay. Next, let capital M be the supremum. Capital M be the supremum of f in the complete closed interval a to b. And finally, capital Mi be the supremum of function f in the ith subinterval, that is delta xi. Okay, if it is so, once again see, small m with the infimum of function f in the complete closed interval a to b. Small mi with the infimum of function f in the ith subinterval delta xi. Capital M with the supremum of function f in complete closed interval a to b, and finally the capital Mi with the supremum of the function f in the ith subinterval, that is delta xi. Now if it is so, then we have a relationship between this small mi and capital Mi as well as the small m and capital M. Then we have small m is always less than equal to small mi, which is less than equal to capital Mi, and which is less than equal to capital M. Okay, and this is for all the values of I. Okay, less than equal to capital Mi. This is for I equal to 1, 2 and continued up to n. We have this important relationship. This is a very important relationship, as we are going to use this many times. Okay, so we have small m less than equal to small mi less than equal to capital Mi less than equal to capital M. We have this relationship. Okay, then in this relationship, now if we put I equal to 1 to n, we have this important relationship. Now in this relationship we put I equal to 1 to n. This relationship can be verified by considering the different functions as well as the different partitions of the interval a to b. Okay, so by considering those, this relationship can be verified, and we are going to verify this relationship later on, possibly in the next class. So in this relationship, if we put I equal to first of all 1, then 2, 3 and so on up to the n, then see whatever we will get. Okay, so if we put I equal to 1 to n, so putting I equal to 1, 2 and continued up to n, we get, I am explaining each and every term, each and every steps very slowly, and so that you will be able to understand it. Okay, these are the preliminary things, so these are very important. So putting I equal to 1 to n, we get, what will get after if we put I equal to 1 to n? Let us see. Okay, so if we put I equal to 1 first of all, then we will get small m is less than equal to m1, which is less than equal to capital M1, which is less than equal to capital M. Okay, this is the first relationship. Then, so we have this relationship. So putting I equal to 1 to n, I equal to 1, we get this. Now, instead of putting I equal to 1 to n directly, first of all, we'll multiply this one throughout by the delta xi. Okay, we'll multiply this relationship throughout by the delta xi and see what we'll get. After multiplying the delta xi throughout, we'll get this relationship as the, once again I am going to write down this relationship after multiplying with delta xi. So we'll get small m into delta xi is less than equal to small mi into delta xi, which is less than equal to capital Mi into delta xi, which is less than equal to capital M into delta xi. Okay, so we got this relationship, capital M into delta xi, capital M into delta xi. Now in this one, we'll put I equal to 1 to n. In this relationship, we will put I equal to 1 to n. First of all, if we put I equal to 1, then we'll get m into delta x1 is less than equal to m1 into delta x1. Okay, m1 into delta x1, which is less than equal to capital M1 into delta x1, which is less than equal to capital M into delta x1. This is the first relationship that we got. Then if you put I equal to 2, then we will get m into delta x2 less than equal to m2 into delta x2 less than equal to capital M2 into delta x2 less than equal to capital M into delta x2, and continued in this manner. If you put I equal to finally the last value of I as the n. Okay, let us see what we'll get. If you put I equal to n, then finally we'll get, see here what we'll get. If you put I equal to n, then we'll get small m, this, into delta xn is less than equal to small mn into delta xn less than equal to capital Mn into delta xn less than equal to capital M into delta xn. Okay, so this is the first relationship. Suppose this is second relationship, and continuing in this manner, this will be the nth relationship. We got this n relationships. These are the inequalities, as they contain the inequality signs, so these are also called as the inequalities or relationships. Now if we add these n inequalities, then see what we will get. Okay, so adding these n inequalities, adding these n inequalities, we get, see what we will get. So adding this n inequality, first of all, addition of these n inequalities means we have to add the left hand side separately, right hand side separately, and middle terms also separately. Okay, so let us see what we will get. So adding these n inequalities, what we are going to get, see here, adding these n inequalities. So n inequalities means, first of all, this one I am going to add these. Okay, adding these, first of all, this addition of these, then less than equal to the summation of these, which will be less than equal to the summation of these, and it will be less than equal to the finally the summation of these. Okay, so adding these n inequalities, we'll get, first of all, I am going to write down the leftmost part. So we'll get m into delta x1 plus m into delta x2, and plus continued up to the m into delta xn. Okay, this is the first term, which is less than equal to, we'll get the second term as the m1 into delta x1 plus m2 into delta x2, and plus continued up to the plus mn into delta xn. Okay, this one, which is again less than equal to the third term, which is the third term, that is in terms of the capitals. So it is a capital M1 into delta x1 plus capital M2 into delta x2, plus continued up to the plus capital Mn into delta xn, and finally this is less than equal to, we'll get this last one, which is capital M into delta x1 plus again capital M into delta x2, and continued up to the plus capital M into delta xn. Okay, adding these n inequalities, we get this relationship. Now in this relationship, from the leftmost part we can take the small m capital, and from the rightmost part we can take the capital M capital as common. Then see what we'll get. Okay, after taking small m common from the leftmost term and capital M common from the rightmost term, let us see what we'll get. I am writing here. So we'll get small m into, remaining will be simply delta x1 plus delta x2. Okay, delta x1 plus then it is delta x2. Delta x2, and continued up to the plus delta xn. Okay, this first one has become only this much. Now it is less than equal to. It is less than equal to, if you observe this second term, then this second term is nothing but which one? Small m1 into delta x1 plus small m2 into delta x2 and so on up to the small mn into delta xn. This is nothing but, if you recall, this is nothing but this is the lower sum over partition P of the function f, less than equal to as it is. Then if you observe this third term, capital M1 into delta x1 plus capital M2 into delta x2 up to the plus capital Mn into delta xn, then this is again the upper sum over partition P of the function f, means u P f. And finally less than equal to the rightmost term. From this also we can take the capital M common, so we'll get capital M into, so remaining is simply delta x1 plus delta x2 plus continued up to the plus delta xn. Okay, but once again if you observe delta x1 plus delta x2 plus up to the delta xn, delta x1 means length of the first subinterval, delta x2 means the length of the second subinterval, and continuing the, once again if you observe delta x1 means length of the first subinterval, delta x2 means length of the subinterval, and so on up to the delta xn means length of the n subinterval, which actually means the sum of the lengths of all the subintervals, which is same as the length of the complete closed interval a to b, and length of the interval a to b is nothing but b minus a. Okay, so therefore for this delta x1 plus delta x2 plus up to the plus delta xn, this is nothing but this is the b minus a. So therefore we will get m into simply b minus a. M into b minus a is less than equal to lower sum over partition P of the function f, which is less than equal to upper sum over partition P of function f, and which is less than equal to lastly the capital M into, once again this bracket is nothing but it is the sum of the all the lengths of the all the subintervals, that is nothing but that is the b minus a, which is the length of the closed interval a to b, so b minus a. So this is a very important relationship that we obtained here, which is the relationship, this relationship is small if what this relationship is, if small mi are the infimum of the function f in the ith subinterval and capital Mi are the supremum of the function f in the ith subinterval, small m is the infimum of the function f in the complete closed interval a to b, and capital M is the supremum of the function f in the complete closed interval a to b, then we have the important relationship. That important relationship is small m into b minus a is less than equal to lower sum over partition P of the function f, which is less than equal to upper sum over partition P of the function f, that is less than equal to the capital M into b minus a. Okay, so this is that important relationship. Now for using this relationship we are going to define the lower integral and upper integral. Okay, lower integral and upper integral, these two things we are going to define by using these two relationships.